And today we're speaking with candidate for the Marshfield School Board and to learn more about their background, experience, and approach to public service. Hello and welcome for being on the program today.
I really appreciate your invitation. Thank you.
Yeah, so in case if the community or viewers don't know who you are, let's get your name, a little bit of your background, hobbies, what you like to do for fun.
Sure.
So
My name is Mark Borchardt. I have lived in Marshfield for 33 years. I worked as a research scientist at Marshfield Clinic for 16 years and at the U.S. Department of Agricultural Research Service for 12 years. I've been married for 45 years to my wife. A lot of people know her, Gwen Stone. She's a retired ENT doc. And we raised our 3 sons here, all the way through kindergarten through 12th grade. So 3 of our boys went through the school system. We love all things outdoors. Those are my hobbies. Gardening, canoeing, hiking, biking. And so we love Marshfield. And we're both retired, my wife and I, and we've decided to stay here.
All right. Very good. So, well, let's move right on into the questions here. So, what experiences, professional, parent, community-based, what do you think best prepared you for this role?
Well, I was, as a research scientist, I headed a laboratory. I was the director for 31 years. And my role was to create ideas, get funding, beginning projects, collaborative multi-center projects from ground up, from scratch. And so I gained a lot of skills in planning and organizing, managing budgets, managing personnel, dispute resolution, making decisions based on data, and importantly, communicating different points of view. The other thing is that I have a lot of experience working on boards, scientific advisory boards at the federal level, the state level, and also editorial boards for scientific journals. So I know how to work effectively as a board member.
All right. So that's very impressive there on that part there. What specific moment or issues in the school board or school system had made you decide I want to run?
Yeah, David, there really wasn't one specific issue. I noticed in the local newspaper that the resignation had happened. There was an opening last April. It was a special election by the school board, and I decided to apply. So I went through the formal process of being appointed. I'm done with child rearing. I'm done with career building. I'm finished with home establishing. And I'm at that point in my life now that my emphasis is on serving others and serving the community. And my wife and I, we are really grateful for the education that our kids had. And I think there's some retired teachers here that will tell you that we still stop them on the sidewalk and say, thank you for educating our kids. So I think it's now, I need to repay the favor. And I think at this time, I should be serving the students, the teachers, the parents, and importantly, the taxpayers of Marshfield.
Yeah. My next question here is, what do you believe is the most important responsibility of a school board member here in Marshfield?
Well, that's sort of dictated by rule, by policy, by the school board itself and its creation of the district. There's three main functions. First of all, we have to establish school district policies. We need to oversee and evaluate the superintendent, and we have to establish the budget. Those are the 3 main responsibilities of the school board. There are other opportunities for us to provide input. I serve on the Curriculum and Instruction Committee. So to the extent that one is involved with these committees, you can still provide input. But the 3 main ones that I mentioned that's really what's most important.
Right. Talking about the school board members, how do you see the differences between school board role and the role of the administrator or other school administrators, superintendent?
Well, the board's purview is to oversee the district, and the superintendent and the district administrators are responsible for the day-to-day management. As a board member, as a school board, we don't micromanage the district. Right. We don't get to decide which days are snow days. So that's That's the superintendent. So we're more of the overseers.
Okay. What? My next question is, what does a good governance look like to you in this public school system?
When I read this question when you sent it, I thought this is probably the most important question, and I'll tell you why. And the reason is that good governance on the school board, really relies on mutual respect among the members and the willingness to have shared goals. Right now, we have a very collegial board. We have our differences, but we all work together extremely well. And to tell you the truth, I was so disappointed when Mark Conradi and Tara Tremelling decided not to run. They're really going to be missed.
All right. If elected, what would be your top 2 or 3 priorities for the Marshfield Public Schools?
Well, I'm going to break your question. Can I have 4?
You can add that.
Can I have 4 priorities?
I'll give you that.
Okay, thank you. Number 1 is I think we need to provide opportunities for the Marshfield property tax payers to understand how school funding works in Wisconsin. It's something else. It's been a real education for me. And the way it works statewide just needs greater transparency and understanding. I think that's important.
Right.
And I think we need to get that word out. The second one is, the school board is well run. The school district is well run. But one of the things that I've noticed is that I think communication between the district leadership, and the taxpayers could be improved. I think communication between the district and the parents is excellent, but for the rest of the community, I think that could be improved, and I have some ideas how to do that. Number 3, improve reading proficiency. Right now, 64% of Marshfield 4th graders pass the proficiency test. The statewide average is 51%. I guess we can pat ourselves on the back that we're better than the state, but really, are we content that 1/3 of our 4th graders can't read at grade level?
Yeah.
That's my 3rd priority. And then the 4th priority, and these are not ranked in any way. This one relates to your last question, and I think is extremely important. And that is, my other priority is to maintain a highly functioning board built on respect and shared goals. We need a well-functioning collegial board.
All right. Well, talking about well-functioning, what do you think Marshfield is doing good right now? And, what needs might need improvement on?
Well, where I've been most impressed, and I think some people are going to disagree with me on this, but financially, the district is doing an incredible job with managing finances. The mill rate went down this last year. It dropped, which is amazing. And out of the 470 some, I think it is, school districts in the state, only 26% got an increase in state aid. Marshfield was one of those school districts that got an increase, which is very impressive. And then the other thing that's impressed me financially is just how smart the district has been in this referendum and taking on these bonds in a timed manner in a way that allows interest to be earned. So before the money is spent on the construction, a fair amount of interest has been made with the timing of these bonds. So very well done. And then the audit that was just completed last month, the independent audit gave the school district the highest rating. So passed the audit with flying color. For improvement, I'd get back to what I said about communication. I think that's an area where it needs to be improved.
All right. Well, I didn't know about that, about the loans there that they're getting interest on there and having a benefit to the community. What should the district balance? How should the district balance economics, student mental health, extracurricular activities? How would those opportunities be supported there?
Well, I think the district's role here is to provide opportunities for everyone, recognizing that each student is unique. They have different learning styles, they come from different family backgrounds, and they have different life goals. And so, importantly, the district needs to provide all of these things with the goal of letting students feel like they belong. They belong to the school system, because what studies have shown is that that sense of belonging, that sense of ownership, is really a strong predictor of school success.
Right. Well, talking about success, what does success look look like for Marshfield students to you in the next 5 years from now?
Well, I love the quote from a school head in Stowe, Vermont. He ran the Stowe School, and he said his goal of the school was to produce students that were acceptable at a dance and were invaluable during a shipwreck. Now, we don't have any shipwrecks in Marshfield, but the way I interpret that quote is that the role of the school system is to produce good citizens, employable people, resilient people, solid folks. So the way I would view success 5 years from now is when I learned that 10 people from the class of 2026, Marshfield class of 2026, 10 of them are running for the school board. That would be a sign of success.
All right. You talked a little bit about taxpayer money. The school board makes, tough decisions on budgets and with taxpayer money. What principles will guide you when weighing in spending versus the tax impact?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. And I have these three principles in mind. Every spending decision must be accompanied by the question, does this expense benefit the most students in the most cost-effective manner? We need to keep that in the forefront of our mind. For year-to-year expenditures, I don't think there's any reason that an expenditure should ever exceed the inflation rate. I think that would be unacceptable. And then importantly, we just always need to be on the lookout for cost savings.
Okay.
And I can tell you that this board has had that mindset. Where can we save money?
Sure. With money, you're always investing into something there. So how should Marshfield decide to where to invest in, such as staffing, buildings, technology, or student services?
Those four things that you're mentioning, staffing, buildings, technology, student services, you just can't pick one of them. All four are important and they're interrelated. A teacher can't teach if the roof is leaking.
Right.
Students can't learn if they're hungry. So they all need to be addressed. I can't rank them.
Okay. Well, when resources are limited, how do you decide what gets funded and what would have to do without?
Well, you have to fund what's absolutely essential. And to go back to what I was saying earlier, a person can't have a new roof, but yet an empty building because we don't have the teachers to teach. So good teachers are absolutely essential. And then you also have to ask, does this affect student well-being and student safety? That needs to be a priority. A third approach is, it's easy to kick the can down the road, put it off, but does that result in greater costs later? You might be kicking the political football, but you're not really serving the district well if you're just increasing costs later.
Right. That's for sure. My next question is, how do you plan to listen to parents, students, teachers who may strongly disagree with you?
Well, as a representative of the public, my job is to listen. I take it seriously. My job is to listen to all points of view. And I have dealt in my career, my focus was on water quality, which in Wisconsin tends to be highly controversial. So I've dealt with some really controversial topics. And what I've learned is, as long as you refrain from personal attacks and just focus on the issues, usually you can come up with consensus, you can come up with compromise. So as long as everyone listens and everyone's respectful, it usually works out.
Sure. Earlier you talked about communications. What does transparency look like that comes from these school board decisions?
Well, as a public institution, we're highly transparent. A person does have to dig sometimes, but everything is publicly available. The two exceptions are obviously student confidential material and personnel matters. And we have had to deal with some of those, some tough ones. And so there are some things that the public can't get to unless, well, actually there is an exception with personnel matters. You can go through legal procedure.
Right.
But we have to be careful. The reasons we go into closed session at times is to maintain confidentiality and protect the issue, the person that we're discussing.
Yeah, very good. If controversial issues divide the community, what role should the school board members play?
Well, it depends. If it's not a school issue, I think school board members need to stay in their lane. If it is a school issue, then a school board member's role, in my opinion, is to educate and provide information, get feedback, and help people understand that a lot of times we're just following policy, either district policy or state policy or federal rules. But it is important to stay. I think it's important to stay in our lane.
Right. All right. My next question is what core values will guide you on decisions on the board?
Number one, I value public education. And if a person is running for school board, it needs to be your first value, that you value the education that our public schools provide. Secondly, and this has been throughout my career, I value competency. I'm very sensitive to incompetency. So I value the competency of our teachers and our staff. Other value is listening. And not just listening, but I think it's important to seek input from those that aren't speaking out. Oftentimes it's the loudest wheel that gets the grease, or however the phrase goes. Yeah. So you have to pull, sometimes you have to pull information from some other folks. Honesty and integrity, those are two words that I think are very important. And then, of course, always at the top, you have to think about the success of the students, what's best for the students.
Right. All right. Well, that brings me to my next question here. Can you give an example of a difficult decision you had to make in your life, and how did you handle that?
Well, there's probably everyone. I mean, we all have these tough decisions, right? Right. Right. I was thinking about that question, and I think the most recent, even though it was just a few years ago, tough decision in my life was the decision to move my mother from her home in Appleton, where I grew up. I grew up in Appleton, Wisconsin. Move her from Appleton to Marshfield because of her increasing health issues and her dementia. And like any decision-making process that all of us make, you take a look at the trade-offs. You look at the pros and the cons, and you seek input from others. In that particular difficult situation, I sought the input from my brothers. And we made the decision to sell her home in Appleton, move her here. She's at Wells Nature View, and I visit her almost every day. It was a good decision.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got two questions left there, and this next one will be a decision for the voters. So, why should Marshfield voters trust you with their schools?
Tough question. Tough question. Why should they trust me? If this was a job application, you check my references, right?
That's right.
That's what you would do. You would check my references as to my integrity, my work ethic, my trustworthiness. What I would ask voters to do is talk to my colleagues, my school board member colleagues, and ask them how Borchardt's doing in terms of performance on the board.
All right. Well, before we close this program here, is there anything else that you would like to tell the viewers, that any questions that I haven't asked?
Yes, I do it.
Yeah.
I do have one. And that is, I would like voters to know that how shall I say it? I put my money where my mouth is. And that is, every Tuesday morning, I volunteer with first graders at Grant Elementary School, every Tuesday morning. And I have learned so much doing that about the instruction methods, the difficulties that the teachers are going through, the expectations for the students, the use of technology in the classroom, which has been a real eye-opener for me. So this experience has really given me valuable insights, and I think has made me a more informed board member. Plus, the kids are just an absolute joy. And my wife says that when I come home after, and I did that today, I was in the classroom. They're a little antsy today because they haven't had outdoor recess. But my wife says that whenever I come home, I'm just beaming after being with the kids. And my plans are that even if I don't win the election, I'll keep volunteering there. I think it's a good service to provide to help them with the reading and help them with the math. So I'll continue volunteering there through the end of the school year.
All right.
And I just want to thank you for this opportunity to speak.
You're very welcome, and it's a great place to get this information out. It's a town hall. That's what I say, and it's a great service to the community there that we can get this information out for everybody. So,
Thank you.
Mark, thank you so much for being on the program today.
All right, thank
I
you.
wish you luck there. So, you've been watching Get to Know, produced by Marshfield Broadcasting. This interview is a part of an ongoing effort to provide viewers with general information about candidates running for office. Marshfield Broadcasting does not endorse any candidate, political parties, and participation in this program does not mean endorsement. To watch this interview again or other candidate programs, visit us online or watch it on Marshfield Now, Channel 990, and on our streaming platforms. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next time on Get to Know.